I'm Callie. I'm from Puyallup, and CFNR is my station.
Your nation, your station. CFNR.
This is Journeys with KIEFER, COLLISON. Conversations about culture and the issues affecting First Nations people in BC. Brought to you by Prince Rupert Port Authority. Linking a world of opportunity. Online, rupertport.com.
Hello and welcome to Journeys. My name is KIEFER COLLISON on Your Nation, Your Station, CFNR. Today, I'm speaking to BRIAN LUSH, who is with ROCKWIRED Magazine. Also, Rock is Red digital magazine that is revamping and relaunching very soon. You can check them out on Facebook or rockwiredmagazine.com. Now, I have a wonderful conversation about Indigenous and First Nations rock and how Canada is kind of taking the lead in that, and we should be very proud and hold up our bands. You know, you got to listen to your local bands because eventually they're not going to be local anymore. They're going to go big and they're going to go large, and you're going to want to say, hey, I watched those guys when they were playing in a local club, blah, blah, blah. And before I rant and rave all day about this situation, I want to bring you into the conversation I have with BRIAN LUSH. So without further ado, here it is.
Well, my name's BRIAN LUSH. I'm an enrolled member of the Yankton Sioux tribe out of the southeastern part of South Dakota. And I am the founder and editor of Rock is Red, which is a quarterly digital magazine which profiles American Indian and First Nations music. This was a magazine I launched last year as sort of a supplement to my other publication, which is ROCKWIRED Magazine, which is a monthly publication which profiles largely hard rock and heavy metal artists. And the thing with ROCKWIRED Magazine is that it's the first ever American Indian-owned rock music magazine.
Wow.
So it does hold that distinction. And ROCKWIRED as a company has been around for 11 years now under my, I launched the company 11 years ago in a rinky-dink apartment in Anaheim, California. and it's still going today. And aside from the two magazines that we publish, we also do a two podcast series. One is called ROCKWIRED Radio Profiles, and the other one is Rock is Red. We also do a podcast for Rock is Red as well. And however, but now what's getting people excited right now is that we're relaunching Rock is Red. Yeah, the thing with when we launched it last year, the money wasn't quite there. It was a little bit of a challenge to get advertising for it, so we thought we would just, go quietly into the night. But we really felt that, despite that the revenue generated by advertising wasn't so great, we felt that it did have a lot of viewers. It had a lot of people reading and a lot of people sharing and a lot of people going, wow, there is music that's happening from this part of the country. I mean, meaning Indian country, Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was just too, it was too important to sort of, put aside just because you're not making money off of it. I make money doing ROCKWIRED, so that's fine with me. So, Rock is Red it's important. There is no other American Indian or First Nations music magazine out there, and I like to feel that we're fulfilling a need, and this relaunch of Rock is Red will be happening this coming Friday. We will be releasing our brand new issue with District Avenue on the cover, which is a First Nations hard rock band up there, and I'm excited. We've got a lot of fantastic artists that are going to be in this issue, and I can't wait for everybody to see the issue and take it in and share it with friends and family and I think I'm so excited. I'm getting tongue tied right now just thinking about it. And so yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, District Avenue, formerly known as Kicking Crotch, I believe.
That's right. And I've interviewed them before, and so yeah, I've become quite familiar with music coming out of Indian country because of this, and they're great guys, and I thought they had a great picture, and I had to use it for a cover,
Oh,
and in
sure.
a way, they're kind of starting over just like we are with Rock is Red. They got this new lease on life, and so do I with this magazine.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And District Avenue, they got their new album coming out fairly soon, I believe. Hopefully, I'm not sure if it's out right now, but if it is, I need to get my hands on it because I was a huge fan of the album they put out with Kicking Crotch with songs like Fearless, which we still play on our station today. But Brian, just a question for you, and being involved in this, this genre and this niche of rock and roll and rock for as long as you have, how have you seen it progressed in the 11 years?
You mean for Indian people, or?
Yeah, for First Nations people in general.
Oh, well, I say this all the time about you guys. I don't mean to say you guys. I mean north of the border. It's like whenever I find something out about you guys, it's like it's sort of like going up in the attic and seeing stuff that you didn't know was there. And that's what it feels like. I mean, beneath the U.S.-Canadian border, there's not a lot of rock and roll, but there is a lot of hip-hop. There is a lot of, EDM. There is a lot of, other things. And I think, and we cover all of that, too, in Rock is Red. I mean, people may be a little, thinking Rock is Red is just rock and roll, but it's actually of the whole gamut of contemporary music. But I'm very excited about the music coming out of Canada with with bands like District Avenue and who else is there? Ghost Town Orchestra.
Ghost Town Orchestra. I had those guys on my mind.
It's exciting to me.
Ghost Town Orchestra, I can't say enough good things about those guys. I really love the music that they're doing. It's original, it's catchy, it's everything you want to see out of a group, and not to mention a First Nations group. Absolutely.
And so, in terms of rock and roll, I really love where you guys are at, but down here it's hip hop, and that's great too. I don't want to, cut anybody off or feel like I'm being standoffish because something isn't rock and roll. Well, that's just not the point of Rock is Red. It's about celebrating Indian country and the music and all the music that sort of comes out of it.
Yeah, well, NWA was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know there was some contingency and stuff around that with the no-show and what have you, but they're in there. NWA, hip-hop group, the first hip-hop group, they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, those boys can rock. So it's great to hear you say that it's all contemporary music coming out of Indian country that Rock is Red is going to be, talking about.
Absolutely. It's just, we just can't afford to be, sort of standoffish with something that's different, especially not amongst Indian people,
Yeah, for sure. Now, with Rock is Red, where do you see it going with this relaunch? What's your goal for it?
Well, I'm so glad you actually said that. First of all, the shape, on a superficial level, the look is very different, will be very different from the previous issues that we've released. And but I really see this being a huge... and I don't mean to, and I want to preface this by saying I do not mean to boast here, but I really do see this becoming a pop cultural moment because this issue does touch on pop culture. Everything that's happening throughout Indian country and how it relates to pop culture. I mean, there's a little bit of a surprise in this issue that I think people will really like and take to. I think it will excite, an Indian audience, and I think it will definitely make a non-Indian audience very curious, and will make them want to explore everything that happens in our world.
Yeah. Now, I've talked to a lot of First Nations artists who are trying to get away from that First Nations label. Not that they're disappointed to be First Nations, but they want to be artists. But it's strange how we kind of group them together into this one sum when they can be completely different. Have you found that, along doing Rock is Red? But again, in saying all of that, they're extremely proud to be First Nations and doing what they're doing. They're paving the way for our future generations who are inevitably going to rock out.
Yeah, I mean, from my own personal perspective, I never saw myself as, a native, journalist or anything like that. I just go for it, Otherwise, my other magazine, ROCKWIRED, my other magazine, ROCKWIRED, is largely white artists, just because of the genre,
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think because I'm native that I should be doing that either. And I think, with the way technology is and all the possibilities, I think those bridges are coming down a lot more than they've ever been. I don't see any barrier that should, prevent a native artist from, building that to attaining that larger audience, the one that'll put them on the map,
Mm-hmm.
Like down here we have a hip-hop artist, Frank Wan, who's really, he's getting covered everywhere now. And I really, I'd be very curious to see where all of this goes in a year or two. Because I really think he's going to be something big. And he's been on our magazine dozens of times.
Yeah. Now, for yourself and Rock is Red, has there been any roadblocks of really relaunching the series? And if so, what did you have to come over to do that?
Let's see. First of all, I don't really. Okay, here's one, and I think you'll probably appreciate this. This should pique everybody's curiosity here.
I'm ready.
Some Indian press down here has not been very receptive to this thing, and have refused to run stories on it, like Indian Country Today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand the brick wall that's been put up. I've sent press release after press release, and was even told by an editor that they would do a piece on us because I've been after them for so long, and they've seen the audience that I've been able to generate because of it. And then you get nothing, and one writer for them is a person that I've interviewed before and had on my podcast, but he's never reciprocated it with me, and I just don't understand. I don't understand the wall that's been put up there,
mm-hmm.
and that's been a roadblock. But hey, I've got social media on my side. I've got press agents on my side. I've got I've got what it takes to really get this thing to where it needs to be, and I really think it's going to get there. And I think this new issue is going to do that.
And it sounds like, from my perspective of just talking with you in this short amount of time, that you're just promoting First Nations artists and what they're doing, and largely, to have District Avenue, a Canadian band, on the first reboot cover is great. I really think District Avenue is going to make it big and, be selling out shows. You just got to see them live one time or listen to their music, and you really understand what they're about and where they're from, and that's sometimes lost in the music of today.
Right. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to see the band live, but I've talked to them over the phone, and we've sent silly little instant message chats on Facebook, and and they've gotten the word out on Rock is Red on their own, and I'm eternally grateful. They're great guys, and and when I heard they had a name change and were kind of shifting priorities a bit, I wanted to take advantage of that and help them out and put them on a cover.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've been talking about the new generation of rock. Is there any of the older generations of First Nations music that comes to mind when you think of that?
Oh, you mean like people who've come before? Well, oh Lord, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, you guys got this started. It was Buffy St. Marie. I mean, I interviewed her. I did an interview with her like years ago. This was like 6 or 7 years ago, and just the most gracious person, and has done so much. And I really think she really laid this whole thing down.
Mm-hmm. She just took home 2 Juno
made the
Awards
road
as well.
a little easier for everyone who's come after, and then there's, he wasn't really a musician, but he was a poet and all that, I mean, John Trudell changed my life, I mean, just powerful words, and it was put to some very interesting music, and he made a point,
Mm-hmm. Now, with all of that, back then it used to be somewhat of a political statement to be a First Nations and an artist. And I think it's getting away from that, which is great, but they still use that platform to become activists and show off their voice. What's your feeling on using their platform to get off different messages?
No, I mean, it's important, I mean, to use music to put out a message, a political message, or an apolitical one, or that's what it's there for. I support anyone who has something to say and wants to and uses music to do so. I mean, that's kind of our legacy musically with what we're known for in terms of Buffy St. Marie and John Trudell and Joy Harjo, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it's important. I mean, we don't have, as a people, we don't have a whole lot behind us in terms of a wider media, wider, W-I-D-E-R, not whiter, but but it's important that we use music for that to that end. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to use it to that end, that's fine with me too.
Music is music. It helps feed the soul, right? And that's what we need.
Absolutely.
Now, how do people find Rock is Red with the podcasts and everything that you got going on?
They can find it all very easily at ROCKWIRED.com. And if you go to the index page, just type in Rock is Red on the search bar, and all the shows will come up, including all the previous issues of the magazine, which I'm very proud of, by the way. I don't want to sound like, we put them out and we hate them. No, we think they're great issues, and we've had great artists on the pages of them, but this new issue is just going to be very different.
Now, how would you entice, I know it's been a great conversation so far, but how would you entice people who never really looked at the genre, never really looked at First Nations artists, how would you get them to come and check it out and see what you have going on?
Oh, Lord, I think I have that sort of conversation with myself every day. How am I going to get people to give a damn? And
I feel you.
I think it just comes down to... Oh, Lord. Well, first of all, I better have some graphic know-how to get people to, to really notice what we're doing. And I think I've done that with this cover. It's gotten, the cover is already out there for people to start salivating to. District Avenue is is like, these guys are badass, and they look like it. Yeah. They look like something serious. Mm-hmm. And at first the band didn't want me using that cover because I guess they have a new member, but I said, no, we're keeping this one. We're going to use it. This sums it up. They're coming at you, and and at the same time, Rock is Red is coming at you. And with this juxtaposed with this black and white cover, these big bold red letters, Rock is Red. So I couldn't imagine a better way to, put it out there. And already the cover's gotten a lot of notice, and along with our commercial. So there you have it.
Once again, that was Brian Lush. He is the editor-in-chief of ROCKWIRE Magazine and Rock is Red. Check him out on Facebook. And coming up after this short break, we're going to play some music from District Avenue and Ghost Town Orchestra, the two bands that we were talking about in the conversation, not to be missed. This is Journeys, brought to you by the Prince Rupert Port Authority. I'm KIEFER COLLISON. Stay tuned.